Hey, mama, you ever been there where you just gotta finish the thing or start the thing or just there's a thing and it needs some doing and your motivation is just like zero, nothing, nada, zero, zip, blah, blah, blah. Like it is not in existence and you still have to do it. Well, how do you get the motivation to start? That is what we are going to talk about today. Are you excited? I am so excited. Let's do this. First off, I just have to tell you, I am excited that today it's just the two of us. Yes. I mean, we've had some great guests on, and I'm so excited about our upcoming guests that have already been lined up, but I miss having my alone time with you. You know what I'm saying? Just you and me. So I am really excited about that. Just wanted to let you know. So let's get into today's topic, and that is all about motivation or the lack of motivation and how to get it rolling for you. Well, when I look at something, I like to dissect it a little bit and start with, well, what is it not, right? Maybe I've been approaching it from this whole different angle and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've totally been missing the mark of the nail of the head of the whatever that saying is. However, if I can figure out what it is not, then I can start focusing on what it is and take some action towards that. So let's start with what motivation isn't. And the first one, and I know this is going to be such a bummer because this is how I wish motivation happened and how I've dreamed of it. But motivation is not like a lightning bolt that just strikes, and you're like, oh, yes. And suddenly you're like massive action taking woman and everything gets done and nothing is left behind. And you're like, I rule. That is not what motivation is. And trust me, I've waited around a lot for those lightning bolts to strike. And I am still waiting to this day. I mean, they've hit nearby. Like literally, we had lightning hit something nearby our house one time and it fired and melted and all that jazz. So maybe it not being a bolt of lightning is actually a good thing. So motivation is not just going to strike out of thin air. Quit waiting for it. The other thing that motivation isn't, and I know this sounds just so, well, yeah, common sense when you hear it, but hang with me for a second because I bet that you do this. Motivation is not negative self-talk. Of course, like I said, you're going, yeah, of course it's not negative self-talk. Why would that motivate me? But just think for a minute of any time that you've been like, oh, I got to do this. I have to get this thing done. I got to start that project. I need to, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, why don't I ever do things? Why I just can't get started? What's wrong with me? If I was more like her, or if I was more like him, or maybe if I just had this and do you see how that gets us rolling? And it happens so often. And it's just like our brains, they're so sneaky. They're so sneaky. Oh my gosh. They're like ninja minds. They just come in with this little talk like, and you're like, oh my gosh. Before you know it, you've had this full-blown conversation in your head about how you're failing because you can't get motivated, which really doesn't inspire you to get motivated. Which, speaking of which, inspiration, not motivation. It's inspiration. Okay. Motivation is taking action. Inspiration is a whole different thing. It doesn't mean they can't coexist, but it's kind of into that lightning bolt, right? Of inspiration. I'm suddenly going to be so inspired that I'm going to take all the action and I'm never going to quit. Inspiration can maybe get you started. It's not the motivation that's going to push you through to finish whatever it is that you want. And then the last thing that motivation isn't, it's not to-do lists. And I am the queen of to-do lists. I love to-do lists. I literally I'm showing my phone right now. I got all these to-do lists, right? I got my grocery list. I got my morning list of what I need to do. I got the list of ideas that I want to follow through for these episodes. I got lists you name it, I have lists. I love lists. And yet they're not the things that are providing the motivation for me to actually go out and do it, because I can also show you lists that were from like 3 weeks ago that still haven't been crossed off. Know what I'm saying? So although lists can make us feel sometimes good, like I love checking things off. That can be motivating, right? Like I checked it off, boom, dopamine hit. I'm going to go do another. However, a lot of those times we write out those lists with those great intentions and we look at it and we're like, oh, crap. That's a bunch of stuff. And then we don't even know where to get started. And then the next thing you know it, you're on the couch watching HGTV, or at least I am, right? So to-do lists, those are not things to create motivation. They're just action item steps to show you what you need to get done. And sometimes, like I said, doesn't always give you the best order either. So let's talk about what motivation actually is. And before we really start into the how-tos of motivation, first I want to talk about something that's really prevalent in just current life as we know it, especially since the internet has come around. I mean, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week TV. I know I'm going back. Like, remember when I think it was CNN? They were the first ones that started it. It's a 24-hour news network. Oh my gosh, what are they going to talk about? Basically, we have social media, we have media, we have games, we have everything in this world is vying for our attention. And the way that they get it and the way that they keep it is by doing something that affects a chemical in our body called dopamine, right? We know dopamine is that feel good center. Like when you get that dopamine hit, it's like, oh, yeah, I feel good. And all the big companies are using psychologists to make sure that when we fall on their social media page, when we go into their stores, when we hear whatever it is, like the news, when we hear news stories, that we are getting those hits of dopamine, because then that makes us stay and we want to keep creating more. Like, have you ever found yourself scrolling, right? Scrolling on media, social media, and you're like, oh, and then you come across TikTok and you're watching the videos, and none of them are really that good. And you're kind of like, scroll. Scroll. Why do you sit there and keep scrolling? I mean, 15 of them have been that you've scrolled past, and yet you stay there. Why? Because eventually, this is the way it's designed. Eventually, there's going to be that one. There's going to be that one that you're going to be like, oh, this. I'm sharing this. Everyone's going to love that I'm sharing this, and it's coming from me, right? Because we get that dopamine hit, and so, or we're scrolling social media. Oh. Yes, that's the inspiration that I needed. Click, share, like, right? Dopamine hit. So that's what's going on in our world today is we're just getting so fixated and used to having all of these dopamine hits. And this is why we're having such a hard time motivating ourselves, is because we're getting so sucked into this world and we're getting all those dopamine hits and we're not finding it immediately like we do. Whereas fast, within 15 videos of flip, 5 minutes later, dopamine hit, flip, another 3 minutes, dopamine hit, right? Versus when we go out and do something, sometimes that dopamine hit just really doesn't happen for a while. And so we got to be trudging through the action, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, depending on what it is, before we get that dopamine hit. And that takes a lot of motivation to stick through, especially when we're used to just getting something every now and then to make us go ding, ding. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to use this. I'm going to put that to the side, stick a little pin in it. We're going to come back to it in a minute. But we're going to get now into what is motivation. Okay. Before you can start yourself with motivation, you have to start with the most important thing, and that is movement. I know you're going like, it makes sense for you, Mitch. Your hands are always moving. It's true. My hands always. In fact, I was at church today, and one of my friends came up to me and grabbed my hands and was like, do you think she could actually have a conversation if we tied her hands behind her back? I mean, rude, but probably true. So movement is what is going to get your body, first of all, oxygenated so that you can think of things and ideas to do and actually want to take action. So I've been in, you tell me if you can relate. If you found yourself here, you're sitting on the couch and you're just like, woe is me, right? Whatever story it is that we're telling ourselves in the moment. I'm so bored. I'm so this. I really want to start painting again. I miss painting. Why don't I? Then I got to go and get the stuff. I got to find my babysitter. I don't know. Whatever it is, we come up with all the excuses, but we're just sitting there. Or, I got to clean the house. The house is such a mess. It's so messy. There's so many things I have to do. Look around. The house is so messy. And we just sit there, right? Like, I wish I could get motivated. Come on, where's my bolt of lightning? And it's not happening. And so the house stays messy. until something bugs you enough. So what I do when I'm in those situations and I realize, oh, I'm just woe is me. I'm finding everything to figure out an excuse for why I don't do this or why I don't do that and not being motivated. I get up and I move. I'll do jumping jacks. Like literally, actually, right before I wrote this episode, I did jumping jacks. Why? Because it gets your blood circulating in your body. And when your blood circulates in your body, what is the purpose of the blood? One of the major purposes is to oxygenate, carry all of that oxygen from your lungs into this brain, this thing right here, which is eating up most of the stuff that we put into our body, right? All of the energy, all of the oxygen. It needs it. And so if you're just sitting there, your blood is not moving that fast. You're not taking deep breaths. So it really doesn't have the energy it needs to get creative and take inspired action. So I get up. I'll do some jumping jacks. I'll do some push-ups. I'll dance. That just depends on who's around. But I'll do something where my body is put into enough movement that I'm breathing and getting that motion occurring within my blood so that I can start thinking. And I'm telling you, all of a sudden it's like, boom. Instead of going, oh, I need to clean the house. I don't know. I'll be like, I need to clean the house. Oh my gosh, I just see that. And I just start doing it. It's crazy. Like my brain is just like, boom, boom, right? It's doing its own dopamine hits. And so movement is the most crucial part of getting motivated. I don't think anyone ever really accomplished that much by just sitting there. I mean, even writers, they may sit, but I'm sure you've heard of, they get up and pace. They need to go out into nature. They go for a walk, right? There is some sort of movement that is incorporated. So get moving. That is action number one, which leads us to number two, which is take action. Action begets action. You have to be the one that takes that first step of action. And I know it sucks because it's like, but I just want like the hand of God to suddenly move my body and propel it forward. And suddenly it's like, whoa, everything is done. And I didn't even realize I did it, but I feel good and it's done. You are the one that the motivation comes from. It's not from someone else calling you up being like, hey, did you do that? Did you do this? Are you going to do it? Right? That's actually really annoying half the time. Even if you told them, I need an accountability partner, call me. Hey, did you do this? Yes. Okay, I didn't, but I have a really good reason why. So you need to just get up, start moving, and take one simple action. One simple action can lead you to a second simple action. We have this tendency to look at, you've heard the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite of it at a time. We always look at the whole, right? Like when we're looking at the house, oh my gosh, this whole house is so crazy. There's no way I can clean it. But I can pick up the trash that's on the counter and organize the counter. That's not so bad. Well, maybe sometimes. But you get what I'm saying? Pick a spot that looks doable. Pick a spot that you're like, okay, I can create a win here. Let me just do that. If I just do that, then I'm good. I'm happy. And usually what happens is you do that. And now what happens is you start to create momentum and you've created a win, which gives you that dopamine hit, right? And now you move on to the next thing. And before you know it, you're like, dang, my house looks good. I did that. Okay, maybe I had the kids help me too, which is fine. They should. But we got it going instead of just complaining about it and wondering, when is this ever going to get done? So action. Take an action step. Just one. Stop thinking about the whole thing. Oh, I do this all the time, you guys. Like literally with I'm like, oh my gosh, if I start, then I have to do this. And then there's that. And then there's that. And then there's that. And like, I have my, my list of, it's like the scroll that they like in the movies, they like, here's the scroll. Oh, that's a little, and it goes out through the door because it's so long. And now I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't even take action because all I'm thinking is I have to do all of the things instead of just thinking, okay, what's number one? I can do number one. And if I just focus on number one, then suddenly number one's done. Oh, number two. Well, number one was done, so it just made doing number two easier, right? So now I can move on to number two. So you see that? Just think of one thing at a time. Have the picture in mind of what it is that you want to complete or achieve or do. But break it down and start at that one first action and then take the next step. And this is how motivation builds. Okay. The third step, repeat. That's it. Move, action, repeat. Move, action, repeat. This is really all that motivation is boiled down to. It's not that complicated. I know we like to think things are like really big and complicated because it makes us feel better when we don't do it because it's just too much. But when we break it down and we realize all it is I got to get up and move so that my brain can think and start getting excited about doing things. And then I take an action and then I repeat it. Boom, boom, boom. And now we're starting the habit of motivation and creating that momentum. Okay, but there's some tricks that we can use to make creating that motivation a little bit easier. Okay, you don't have to just like, pull it all from inside. There are things that we can do. Yes, I love a hack. Oh my gosh, you guys. Like, I love it when I find laundry hacks or things to not make my sponge smell bad. Those things, they make my day. So what is hack number 1 to creating motivation? Well, it's what I like to call, well, it's not what I like to call, it's actually what it's called. It's called habit bundling, okay? So say, for example, you want to get motivated to just start creating more movement in your day or to start working out. And the idea of creating some workout routine or running or whatever it is, it just, again, seems overwhelming. It seems like too much. It's like, I don't have the time for this. And so we lose all sense of motivation. So instead, what we do is we bundle it with an existing habit that we already have, because habits are automatic, right? We're just going to do it anyway. So for example, and I've talked about this before, when I brush my teeth, I don't just sit there at the sink and brush my teeth. I incorporate movement into it. So I'm brushing my teeth and I do like side like lift thingies, you know, like where you turn and you lift your knee up to your elbow. And I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for it. But anyway, I'm doing that. And then I'm doing squats while I'm brushing my teeth. And I do it for like 2 minutes because apparently you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes. So it's like a win-win, right? Because if I just brush my teeth at the counter, I'm done in like 30 seconds. So want to make sure my pearly whites are taken care of. Ding. And also that I'm creating some movement at the beginning of the day. So I'm already starting off by oxygenating my mind. And now, like, doing my workout doesn't seem so bad because I've already put my body into motion. And so literally it has become a habit. Whenever I brush my teeth, I'm doing my side things, I'm doing my squats. And sometimes I get mad at myself because I'm like, do it faster because I'm in a hurry. I overslept. But I'm still doing it, right? Because now I have bundled the habits together. It seems weird to brush my teeth without doing some sort of movement. So that's one way that you can create some motivation around a thing, is attach it to a habit that you already have and that's already running on automatic, okay? The second way that you can make motivation easier is by what I call, again, I'm just calling it everything. This is what they're called. It's called temptation bundling. I like this one. Ooh, it sounds juicy. Okay, so it is and it isn't. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking something that you like to do that requires no motivation, and you're putting it together with something that you are now starting to want to be motivated to do, but maybe hasn't been so easy for you in the past. So we'll go back to working out because it's just a really easy example to use. If you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I love me some HGTV. However, I will not allow myself to watch it unless one of two things has happened. A, I either got to be really, really sick and ain't no moving, then I will pop me down on the couch and I'll watch some HGTV. But that's not usually an everyday thing. So the way I get my HGTV in is I do it while I'm working out. So I put on my show. It's 43 minutes. It's a perfect time for me to work out. I do my little Pilates or my HIIT. I get on the treadmill, and for 43 minutes, my body is in movement doing some sort of workout activity. And I look forward to it because I'm like, oh, I gotta watch HGTV. I didn't see the reveal yesterday. I cut the show off too early, so I gotta go finish. And then it automatically starts the next show. So I'm like, oh, now I'm stuck in this. And so suddenly working out is like super easy because I've made it where the only way I get my temptation, which is the HGTV, is by bundling it with working out. And so, I don't want to give up my habit over here. So I'm going to have to create this motivation to do this habit over here. And now, once again, I've bundled them together, my temptation and the thing that I really need to be doing. And now we have a habit that motivation momentum has pushed us into, right? That little temptation. Okay, so let's go back to that dopamine hit and how companies these days really gamify things, right? If you look at social media, everything, there's, ooh, how many likes do I have? Ding, 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 right? How many alerts do I have? How many of this? When, like, do you ever get on and you're like, oh, I only have 3 notifications, man, oh my gosh, I have 20 notifications. What's going on? So basically, what's happening is, again, we're getting these dopamine hits because of this gamification. So what I have also done in the past is I kind of gamify some things that I really want to accomplish to motivate myself when I'm not feeling the motivation. So I think of, okay, so I'll either, create some sort of game points in my head. Okay, if I do XYZ, I get 3 points. And for every 3 points, once I hit, say, 21 points, then I get to reward myself with something. Or um, this one really isn't gamification, but it could kind of be there. Maybe it's a little bit of habit bundling, a little bit of temptation bundling, a little bit of gamification. But anyway, back in the day when I was single, I used to go running, and there would be days I would work until like midnight or something like that, and I hadn't gone running yet. And I'm like, I need to get my run on. I'm tired, or it's a really hot day and I'd be running outside. I don't want to go run. So what I would do, I'd at least get started running. And then when I felt like just stopping, I'm like, maybe I'll just walk the rest of the way. I'm like, no, no, no. What I would do is I would pretend that at the time, like whatever Hollywood star I had a crush on was running behind me. And so, of course, then suddenly, you got to look good. You can't just let them see you like huffing and puffing away. It's like, no, I'm going to be rock star runner right now. Or, sometimes I put them in front of me in my imagination and then I'm chasing after them, right? So, use your imagination, get creative. Yeah, well, now you know my secret. So this is also another fun thing that you can do, though, to create motivation is come up with little games, come up with little stories in your mind that are going to help propel you forward into action. What's going to make it fun? Because you guys, hello, fun rich mom. The name of the game here is to enjoy this life that we have. If you're not enjoying it, what's the point of it, right? Don't take that too far. But you get what I'm saying is have fun with this instead of looking at like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this motivation? I just can't get motivated. Why are these people so motivated, right? And we're telling ourselves these stories and we're making motivation seem like this unreachable concept and the idea of doing something like this far off thing that is unachievable. Well, yeah, your brain's going to want to say, yeah, let's try that another day. Like we're super comfortable where we are right now. Get what I'm saying? Instead, if we start looking at the ways that we can make it enjoyable, oh, I'm already doing this. If I pop it with this, habit bundling, motivation there. Or, hey, I really like doing this. If I make it with this, temptation bundling, motivation's a little bit there. Hey, let's make it like a game and make it fun. You have kids, mama. What do you do if they don't want to do that? Hey, let's make a game. Let's do the cleanup game. Clean up, everybody clean up. You got 3 toys off the, oh, you got 4 toys? Oh, who can get 5, right? It's silly, but it works. And really, in our heart and mind, we're not really any older than a 5-year-old. So that gamification is going to work for you too. Figure it out. What's going to make it fun for you and actually something that you want to do. So we take it back to that one simple action step, not the whole elephant, just the first bite. And then we take the next bite. Because like I said, once you get into action, once that motivation starts, it builds motivation momentum. And then it's like, have you ever just started, we'll go back to the cleaning the house thing where you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But then you started. And then next thing you know, you've cleaned out, you've done spring cleaning. Like you just meant to clean the bathroom. And then all of the cupboards have been cleaned out. And then you went to your pantry and your pantry's been done. And then you got underneath the sink. Oh, not the pit of under the sink. You know what I'm talking about? It's just a dark hole down there and things just magnetize to it. But you have also accomplished that. And suddenly you look back, you're like, holy crap. All I wanted to do was clean one bathroom and my house is deep clean. It's because you had that motivation momentum. You got into that flow and you were just on a roll. And that's what can happen by taking one simple action. I love it. I love it when that happens. Woo, shooky. And then sometimes, guess what? You'll step back and you need a breather. That's okay. That's okay. A breather is exactly what it is. It's a breather. It's not a quitter. It's not a, I'm stopping, I'm done, and we're going to take 10 months off from this thing, and now I have to, crank up that motivation again. It's a breather. Relax, pat myself on the back, enjoy my work. Okay, back on board. We haven't lost the momentum. We've just given ourselves that little breather that sometimes you need, then keep on going. And wow, motivation isn't such a crazy thing anymore that is only for other people that are inspired and walking around with bolts of lightning striking them every minute. So I want you to think right now, what is one thing that you have been putting off that you felt like, I just can't get motivated to do this? Got it? Okay. Probably driving, maybe doing laundry. If you're doing any of those things, just hang out for a minute. But when you have a moment, get yourself into some movement, okay? Whatever movement that excites you. If you need to run around the house, run around the house. If you want to do jumping jacks, do jumping jacks. If you want to dance, dance. If you want to do crazy, shake it like a salt and pepper shaker, do that. Just some sort of movement for at least 20 seconds so that you're doing some heavy breathing, the thing that's supposed to take place to get that oxygen moving. Get some breathing going on and feel the blood circulating in your body. And then that's the moment you think, okay, what's one action, the first action that I can take to get me started on this journey that I've been avoiding so that I can get into action and create that motivation momentum. And then do the one action. Just one little action. That's all you got to do. One little action. And then from there, you can think about, okay, what's the next action? And then what's the next? And just keep moving, and you'll soon see you have become a motivated person. Boom, shakalaka, just like that. Okay, I've been kind of wild and crazy on this episode. Obviously, I have missed you. I'm excited and energetic to be here with you one-on-one, just you and me, and sharing about motivation because, man, I know when you feel stuck, it sucks. I really hate being in that mode where you're just like, ugh. And it's so much nicer when you can just push a little bit of inspiration into you. Remember, the inspiration isn't the motivation, but the inspiration can start that feeling of, I want to take action. And then the motivation comes once you take that action. Action, another action. Hopefully now this feels like something that you can do and you're picturing yourself doing the thing step by step. Oh my gosh, another song. I've got the songs in my head today. Step by step, something like toy soldiers. I'm bringing back the 80s. I need a lyric sheet. With that, I think I have given you enough of my high energy today. We're going to go with that's what it is. And I am just so excited for you to get rolling and moving forward on that thing that you felt like you couldn't get motivation around, because now you know you can. It's all there right within you. It's been sitting there the whole time. All you got to do is break it out, let it out, and let it take some action. Hey, Mama, I'm back just to give you a little send off and say thank you for being here on this episode with me, because if you couldn't tell, I had a blast being here with you. And I'm hoping you feel the same, which if you're still here, I'm guessing you did. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you. And if you have a friend in mind that you think would get some good stuff out of this episode, share it and leave a comment. Let me know, who are you, what it is that you're liking about this, and what you want to hear more of. And also, if you didn't know, I got an email list. Yeah, I send out alerts for these episodes, and every other week or so, I send you an email just to either drop you something to inspire you, to share some things that are really cool that I've found out, like hacks, or things that have made my life better, just something to add some value to your day. So if you want to get on in that, you can go to funrichmom.com, just like the name of the show, and you can get on the list there. I would love to have you be a part of that community. In the meanwhile, go out there, make it fun, have so much fun and joy in your life, make those experiences rich, and I will be talking to you next week. Bye.